Hey y'all, I'm really excited to share this tutorial with you because after a few tries I finally figured out how to make a smart hoop. It's made with one of these LED strips and it comes with a remote control, which is pretty groovy because you can change the color like that or like that, and then you can make it strobe and flash and do some funky things. It's really awesome. And this hoop is nice because you'll notice there is no gap, no battery gap. It's really cool. I hope you find this tutorial useful, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, happy hooping. In addition to your hoop tubing, you'll need a few things. First of which is the LED strip. It's a 50-50 strip. It's 5 meters long, but you won't need all 5 meters unless you're making a really, really huge hoop. They come with sticky back, and you want to make sure you get a non-waterproof LED strip because the waterproof ones are really heavy. They're actually coated in some sort of epoxy, I think, some sort of resin. Makes them really heavy. You'll notice that the ends, or some of the ends are female and some are positive. This one actually is 2 females, and so if you end up getting a strip that has the female ends, you're going to want one of these little adapter pins. Stick right in there like that. Then there's the mini controller, which comes with a remote. And these mini controllers are great because they're already split into a positive and a negative wire. And these have little arrows on them which line up with the little arrows on the LED strip. Make sure you match those up, otherwise things are not going to work properly. And you'll need some speaker wire, 22 gauge or 24 gauge. And if you're not familiar with speaker wire, it's actually 2 wires in one, and what you'll need to do is cut between the 2 wires and then pull them apart like that. And we're only going to need 1 wire. You'll need some electrical tape. And when you put the LED strip through the hoop, you may want some of this plastic sleeving, which is wonderful. I think it's 1 inch wide, and you can use bubble wrap if you want, but you'll have to wrap the LED really tightly to get it to fit through the 5/8 inch tubing. This stuff is nice. Just goes right on and pulls right through. You'll need 2 AAA size 3.7 volt batteries. These are 10 440s. You'll need 2 push buttons. This is the small size from Hoop Supplies, but it's actually a little bit larger than my extra small size from Hoop Supplies. I've had a machine shop drill little holes in the ends so that I can bolt on my battery springs. That's one of the battery springs. And a little tiny bolt. And then I epoxy these on. Here we have the connector piece. It's 3/4 inch outer dimension hdpe. It measures 8 inches on the top curve of the tubing. I went ahead and drilled my holes, and when you do that, you're going to want to come in 3/4 inch from the edge, or from the edge of the tubing here, and then from center hole to center hole, you want to measure 6 1/4 inches, and that measurement needs to be, pretty exact because this is the space where your batteries are going to go, and you want them to connect. And that will leave you 3/4 inch on this side over here. Now this is the positive side. I've marked it. It's going to have the larger of the push buttons, which is actually the small size, and then the negative size will have the extra small push button over here. So this hole for the small size push button is a 1 1/4 inch hole, and then this size is 13/64. we're putting the push buttons on the side of the tubing as opposed to on the top like you normally would. They'll fit in here, you know, like this. And we're doing that so when we put the LED strip in the hoop, the LED strip's going to run on the outside edge. So if you had the push buttons on the top here, they would just be in the way. Now we're going to mark the hoop tubing for holes. So you want to come in 3/4 of an inch from the edge on either side. And those don't have to be perfect. You can do an inch even. You just want to make sure that it's not too, you know, too far in so you have enough room for the push buttons to stick out. So mark those and then put your connector piece on and then line up those marks in the center of the hole. Do it on both sides and drill holes into the tubing. So now that you have your tubing all ready to go, we'll start prepping the rest of this stuff. You'll need your wire, and you want to cut this a good 8, well, maybe a foot extra. You want to take what your hoop circumference is. Mine is 106 inches around, and then I added another foot for that, so about 116, 118 inches of wire. Same thing for your LED strip. You want to cut that, leaving a good 8 to 10 inches extra. And the way you cut that is you just look for the little copper areas on the LED strip, and then you just cut right down the middle with a pair of scissors. It's that easy. And if you're using the plastic sleeve, you're going to want to have enough of that, you know, to go around your hoop also, the little extra. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to attach the wire, the speaker wire, to the back of the LED strip. And I do this just so the wire, when it's in the hoop, stays behind the strip and doesn't, you know, travel around to the front and get in front of it and cause problems. So what you want to do is take your wire, I just like to leave a few inches extra on here, and then go down a few inches away from the end here and see if you can pull up this paper that's covering the sticky back. Just cut out a little notch of it, or pull out a little notch of it. Then I've cut some little pieces of just clear tape. And then all you want to do is, it doesn't have to be anything pretty because you're not going to see it, but just put the wire in the back and then cover up that sticky area with the tape. And you want it to be covered because you don't want any of this sticky back, or this, you know, the sticky back to the LED strip to get stuck as you're trying to pull this through your sleeve or your tube. And then just go down every couple of inches. Doesn't have to be exact. And do it all the way down till you get to the end. So I'm just going to temporarily tape this wire on this end here so we can feed it through the sleeve. Okay, now we're just going to feed it through the sleeve. What I like to do is bunch it up like that and then pull it through. Okay, when you get the LED strip all in the sleeve and you get down to the end here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape this. It's going to be temporary, but I'll just take some packing tape. Tape that around the end to hold the sleeve on. And this is what I use to pull the strip through the tubing. It's just a small fishing weight on the end of some strong string or twine. Come down to the end and tie a slip knot. And then take the taped end of the circuit, or of the LED strip, and then go in between, you know, one of these or two of these LEDs, and then pull the string tight and put the knot in the back if you can. It'll bend a little bit, but this is going to be cut off, so don't worry about ruining it. Pull it tight. Now we'll pull it through the hoop. So we're all through the hoop here. And now what we're going to do is pull off this piece of tape on the end here. And then pull this part out a bit. Okay, now we're going to trim this black plastic piece off because it's too tight to fit through the tubing. I'm just going to use some cutters. You can try it with scissors too, or maybe even an X-Acto knife. Just be careful not to cut any of the wires while you're doing this. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we want to add a little adapter and then the mini controller. And again, make sure you line up the arrows. And now we're going to wrap some tape around this, some electrical tape around this to keep it together and to give it some strength, because these are just soldered here. So if these got bent, they would probably snap off. You don't want to put too much tape on because you still want this to be able to fit through your hoop tubing. Okay, now let's trim this plastic wrap back a little bit and then tape it. Okay, now we're going to prep and wire the positive wire, which is the red one. So you want to strip off the end of your speaker wire. Do about a ½ inch or so. And then the same of your red wire here. It's tricky doing this without my finger. There we go. Now you really should solder these, but I'm just going to tape it, and that seems to work okay. So just twist these two wires together. Piece of electrical tape. Make sure the wire is good and covered. You can see I taped the tape onto itself. That helps it stay a little better. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and strip the negative wire. And I'm going to add little bit more wire to this because it's not long enough to do what we need it to do. So grab a piece of scrap wire about, I don't know, 8 inches or so. You're not going to need all this, but let's go ahead and do that just in case and strip it down. And then wrap it the same way. Okay, let's go ahead and feed this positive wire in the tubing, and then we're going to get the controller in there also. You can bend the negative wire back this way because we're actually going to put the negative wire on this side of the hoop, or the negative push button connector. All right, so what I'm going to do is fold this over at the end of the LED strip so that the LED strip end comes as close to the end of the tubing as possible. You may need to feed it in, or push it in there with something because it's going to get pretty tight. You want to get it down far enough that you can get the push button in. I've got a little bit more to go here. Okay, I think I got it in there, down far enough. Now what we're going to do is strip the end of the negative wire and then connect it to the push button. Actually, I'm going to leave myself a couple inches here and then I just stick it in there in case I have to make adjustments. Otherwise you can cut it down further if you like. And you want to strip off a couple inches. And then twist all of this together so it's not sticking out everywhere. Then take your small or your extra small size push button and you're going to put the bottom piece over this wire just to hold it in place. And you may need to adjust your LED strip back a little bit. I see them a little tight, so I'm going to do that. And then take the stripped end and just wrap it around. Just wrap it around the spring. And then it should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and trim this plastic bag down to the end here, to the end of the tubing. And just cut it off. Okay, let's go ahead and trim this speaker wire down. And I'm going to leave a couple inches, 4 or 5 inches here, just in case. Sometimes you need to make adjustments. And then I'm going to strip down another couple inches. Okay, let's just stick this copper wire in there, down in there. Okay, now we're going to take our small size, but the larger size push button, and what we're going to do is put it on the side of the LED strip, and the larger size will hold the LED strip in place here. And then we're also going to put, like we did at the other end, put the bottom of the push button on top of the speaker wire to hold that in place. So let's see if I can do that. It's going to be a little tricky. Here we go. That wasn't too bad. And then take your wire again and wrap it around the spring. Okay, connection's complete. Okay, so this extra LED strip here will go through the battery connector, and that way there won't be a gap. So let's go ahead and put this on and stick it through to see how much we need to trim. And remember, you have to cut in between the little copper areas here. And I think what I'm going to do, instead of having this stick out so far, is trim it back to the one that's in here, the next one down, which I'm going to mark. You pull this off. And then I'm going to trim it right here. Alright, you see how the LED strip is all flexible? It may cause problems in the battery connector piece. So what I'm going to do is put a piece of plastic, which I'm going to cut from this tennis ball canister, and you can probably try like a soda bottle or something, and line the back of this just to give it a little bit more stiffness. So for this, I just use a pair of tin snips to cut off the top piece, and then just a pair of good scissors to cut the plastic. Okay, when you have your strip cut, you want to wedge it in between the LED strip and your push button connector. And then on this side, you want to make sure that the LED strip is not here, because you're going to need to slip the end of this in over here. So push it back with a screwdriver. Right, and we'll put the connector piece on. Okay. Put the batteries in, and make sure you put your batteries in the correct way. This is the positive end with the bigger push button, so put that side in first. Okay, now you've got this end of the plastic sticking out here. What you're going to want to do is slide it in the other end here, like that. And then connect. Okay, moment of truth. Awesome. And look, no gap. How awesome is that? So with the plastic strip in here, if you wanted to, you can go ahead and pull the sticky back off of your LED strip here and stick it to the plastic strip. I think that would be fine. I'm leaving mine off right now in case I need to make some other adjustments, but that should work nicely. If you want some grip, what I use are these little guys from Battery Dude. They're awesome little grip sticks, and you just rub them on like this. Then you can put them on the side too. And they're just wonderful. I don't use any tape usually, but if you do want tape, and if you do want like super duper grip, you can try this. It comes in a 1" roll like this with some paper backing, and what I do is just cut it down the middle, and then you just line the inside of your hoop, and it's like uber grippy. Nice stuff.